Welcome back. We're here with Creating Healthy Organizations Conference 2017 in Irvine, California, and I have with me the most amazing Josh Allan Dykstra. And if you haven't heard of this man, you will, I guarantee it. So today we have a couple of questions for Josh. What it looks like to be invested in a healthy organization. We have questions for students, and then I have personal questions that I want to ask him on what drives him. So we'll start with the first one. What drives your interest in a healthy organization?
Yeah, it's the statistics are terrible. So when you look at engagement in the workplace, am I working in something because I have to versus I want to? If I want to, I'm engaged in my work. The statistics of that happening are horrendous. 2/3 of people are disengaged with their work. And if you look at passion in the workplace, it's even worse. So a study done by Deloitte just last year shows us that almost 90% of people are not passionate about the thing they spend the majority of their life doing.
That's staggering.
It's 87.7%. What do we do more than work? Nothing. We spend so much of our life's energy on work that it is just a tremendous waste of human talent, of human energy, of human potential to be not doing something that you care about. And so for me, that's really what drives me. And I have 2 little girls that I want them to, when they want to go into the workforce, I want them to be able to find something they love and not be so hard to find that. It seems like you're in the minority now.
Right.
You know, if you don't get to, if you get to do something you love, that's sadly very rare.
I remember listening to you speak one time, and you had moved to Denver, Colorado, and you were talking to us specifically about commuting and how to use the time in your car.
Yeah.
Do you remember speaking
Sure.
of that? And what you can do in your car to add value and to energize and strengthen your life.
Yeah.
Your work.
Yeah. So for me, commuting is one of those things that just drains my energy. And before living in Denver, I lived in LA for 10 years, so I sat in traffic plenty of times. And sometimes it's unavoidable. But what do you do? And so the trick is to kind of reframe the activity through a lens of something that's energizing. And so for me, I'm very, very drained by sitting in traffic because I'm a results-focused person, and so I want to cross things off my list. Sitting in traffic makes me feel like I'm wasting my freaking life.
Yes.
But I'm also energized by self-improvement and learning. And so I can put podcasts on my phone, I can turn my car into a university, and I can learn new things while I'm sitting in traffic. Then all of a sudden I'm experiencing that same commute very differently. All of a sudden it's something that's energizing for me instead of something that's draining. So it's a powerful mind hack.
I love the idea of turning your car into a university because I think so much of the time I used to tell people you can learn a second language just going from Los Angeles to Orange County, and it's just crazy that way.
Yeah.
What is your advice to students who are interested in entering the fields of organizational psychology or human resources?
Yeah, there's so many facets, there's so many angles to this world. So whether it's HR, OD, or organizational psychology, there's so many different angles with which you can find a career inside this field that I would say that the most important thing is to pay attention to what energizes you and make sure you're going in a direction that feeds what energizes you. Because you could easily get sucked down a path that's maybe not so energizing if you're not very intentional and you're not paying attention to, okay, no, I need to do more coaching, or I need to do more speaking, or more facilitating, or more comp and benefits, or more, right? There's so many different angles. So I just say keep coming back to what makes you feel energized, and keep checking that, because that will never lie to you. Keep going in that way.
I just love talking to you. What is your advice to managers who've been taught that if you want to have a productive organization, you just can't care about people, employees?
I have lots of words for these people. First, I would say they need to unlearn, let's say, a lot of the things that they've been taught, because the science is not on their side. The research is not on the side of that perspective. The research all indicates very clearly that if we want people to do great work, they need to be engaged. We need to care about them. We need to help them feel like they have a deep connection to the impact that their work is making. So I think that's maybe the main thing is let's find you some new research and teach you some new things, because that's pretty outdated thinking and doesn't actually work very well.
So when you were in your session today, I was reflecting back on my youth.
Yeah.
And by my generation, I come from the place of, well, we know Kelly's strengths. It's obvious she keeps getting in trouble for them. Look, so we need to work on her weaknesses. She needs to be more this, more that. And so I was listening and I was thinking, how do you, for the managers as well, how do you reframe that so that I don't look at the way I was taught or brought up as a deficit that I now know. I can't pretend I don't know anymore. And so it's like relearning something. All of that time I spent trying to be something I wasn't.
Yeah, I think most of us come from that perspective. I think the majority of our society is still pretty obsessed with weaknesses. Is pretty obsessed with gaps and deficiencies. And in many people's families, if a student comes home with 4 A's and a C, the C is the thing that gets focused on. Right? And in our organizations, we're still focusing on deficiencies and gaps. So there's a lot of inertia in that direction. And I think that's another thing that we've just really learned with, especially through the field of positive psychology over the last couple of decades that we've been studying, is that is a approach, but it's not the most effective approach. We can kind of bang the drum on these gaps and deficiencies and weaknesses all day long, and we just don't ever get that much better at those things. Like, you can get a little better, but nothing like the areas of your strengths where they are a multiplier effect for you. You tap into your strengths and you don't get a little better, you get a lot.
Yeah, that statistic today was amazing about the speed reading that you gave. I wonder what it looks like. I know that I've had conversations with even a generation beyond mine, who, as somebody that used to be a manager, and the idea of like supporting and empowering the people below him is like, it's unheard of. It's like a foreign language.
Right.
And so I just find it's such an interesting topic, and there's so much literature out there now to support exactly what you're saying, and so eye-opening. What are 3 important things a leader can do to empower others for organizational success?
Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing I'd probably say is that I don't know that I believe, and this is one of my beliefs and assumptions, is that I don't think we can empower other people. I think to think that we could empower someone else implies that I somehow have all the power and now I'm going to give you some, when actually you're kind of a fully formed person with agency and choice of your own, and you already have the power. And so we need to kind of, I think, start there and say, you can decide, right? You are an adult with a very functioning brain in your head, and you can make really good choices. And so the problem tends to be, in most organizations, that we don't let adults actually make adult choices. We think they need managers to make choices for them or to empower them. I'm going to cut off a little bit of my power so you can have a little taste of it. It's kind of even condescending at some level. Now, that said, I think what we need to do is engage people. So I borrowed some of this from a friend of mine in Denver. I just think it's a really great way to think about it, the contrast, because engaging people is vital. It's essential, and you can create an environment that's engaging, where people feel like they can do their best work and they can use their brain and they can show up as a fully formed person. And that's a totally different, that we can do. And so from our perspective, I think there really are kind of 3 things that you can do to engage people. One, they need clarity. They need to understand, okay, this is what I'm here to do, this is what I'm going to work on, this is what my job is all about, and I have the tools I need to do that. The next thing is you need to focus on their humanity. So let them be a whole person, let them use their strengths, let them do what energizes them, and help them do that, appreciate those things.
It's very respectful.
And then the last thing would be a focus on impact. So help people understand that what you're doing is making a difference somehow on the world, on our customers, for our company. Somehow, I think everybody wants to feel like my life is mattering somehow. Inside this, or I'm giving my life to this organization with my time. The one thing I don't get back.
Right.
I'm giving my life to this thing. I want it to matter. So yeah, reinforcing that they're making an impact with the work they're doing. So clarity, humanity, impact.
That's excellent. Also, you are an author. You're obviously a speaker, and you're an author. So how many books have you authored?
I've got one that's in published form, and then another one up here and partially in my computer that's on the way. But yeah, so just this one right now.
Igniting the Invisible Tribe. And I think that everybody, every manager, every C-suite executive, middle management, every person that's employed, everybody that's an entrepreneur, anybody that's in high school, anybody that's starting junior high school, everyone should read this book twice. Josh, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you. Every time I get to hear you speak, and now just being able to speak with you, it's eye-opening. Thank you for what you're doing.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.